Boom, the boys are back. Bish sends his apology. We're actually filming on Tuesday instead of Monday night. It was my fault for the regular viewers. My fault. My missus had just arrived from America on the day before on Sunday, so a bit busy. But now, yeah, we're ready to go. Me and Tag, we've just faced each other on the punt league. I've pulled off the win. Wrong QB choice from Tag, but we'll get into it. But Tag, how are you? How's everything going?
All good here, mate. Yeah, shame we're missing Bish for the first time. Bish says his Tuesdays are always days off and he doesn't do out on Tuesdays, so he refuses to do out. No, mate, obviously well-deserved fantasy win for you. I was flipping a coin whether I started Jameis or Cousins all week. I went with my head thinking, go Cousins, because he'll probably destroy Denver and I'll be fuming. I've not started him. It'll be a double whammy. So I went with Cousins and that's been the end of me. That is, I think, put a fork in me in fantasy every week. You and Bish, oh no, you're close. I think I'm done. There's only a couple of games left. I think a few wins he went against me. I'm done. I'm just going to keep starting my best possible team, be fantasy tough to the end, because obviously my team is quite strong, so it might affect the endings. So I'm going to be loyal to that, as you should be in fantasy. But I think Team GOAT is going to start looking at the draft. He's going to be with Jerry Jones having a look for next year.
Yeah, you've had an unlucky year, Tag. Your team's phenomenal. Like you said, a couple of bad things, a few injuries, and a couple of bad storylines within the teams of players you picked. Otherwise, you'd be, on paper, you've got, I think, strongest team in the league. So no, unlucky year. Next one to come. We'll get straight into it, pal. We've got Overreaction Monday, a load of crazy games, a load of action. So I'll let you start off. What is your take after the weekend?
I think it's one what a lot of people are saying. It's not too much of an overreaction. I spoke about Leeds a few weeks ago and said they'd win out the rest of the year, and they are doing it up to now. So I'm right with that, and I'm going to chuck it out there and say Detroit Lions win the Super Bowl. That's what I'm going with. Defensively, they've strengthened up on defense, which I liked what they did when we spoke about trading, like go and get that extra edge rusher, that extra pressure, and they've done that. And offensively, they've got that many weapons. I just can't see how was a team going to stop them scoring 3-4 touchdowns a game. I mean, Goff does have the odd game in him. We all know Goff apparently does, but he has been very consistent since going to Detroit. With Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Laporta fit, Jameson Williams now back fast and fit, and you've got the best running back pair in the league by a country mile for me. It's going to take a lot to stop him. I just can't see it.
No, like you said, the only thing that naturally you worry about is Goff. Can Goff pull it off in them key moments and make the right call, make the right play? I don't know, because he, like you said, he does have them off games. Was it last week? No, it wasn't last week. It was the week before, wasn't it?
Yeah,
where he struggled, and that's the worry. Otherwise, if Goff turns up and has even, like you said, an average day, I don't think anyone can beat him.
I think Goff had the worst possible day that day, and they still had enough just to win with a field goal at the end. And that just sums up where that team is now.
Like you said, there's just not there's not one clear weakness anymore. So, no one with your Tag. I guess my one, I'm going to go off my Bo Nix starting him in the fantasy. Yeah, apologies about that. You've lost against your man himself, but I'm going to go against the team he faced and go the Atlanta Falcons are not making it into the playoffs. I think they're going to really struggle. They've got worse and worse from the last couple of weeks. I think teams, whatever offense they were running, they're getting slowly figured out. And against a Denver team that cornerbacks, obviously, probably one of the best cornerback groups in the league, got absolutely stifled. I don't think they've got enough, and I think they've still got a lot more to figure out on the offensive side of the ball, and more importantly the defense. As well.
I was going to say, for me, defensively, they can't stop the pass. No matter who they play, Cousins had some good games, but he just can't keep up on points because the defense is that poor against the pass, and people writing Bo Nix off. He pulled that defense apart, that secondary. And Bo Nix, as we know, rookie year, he is doing well, but there's a lot better quarterbacks in the league than he is. So, yeah, I think the writing's on the wall for Falcons. It's sort of a win now team they're building, and Captain Kirk, he's probably only got 1 more year to try and do something. I mean, when Penix come in, he looked all right. He looked like he could move. He had a few good throws, and if they don't make it this year, going into next year, there's going to be pressure on do they give that Penix a go, because they've drafted him for a reason.
Yeah, with you, and I'll give a quick mention. We've talked about him a lot the last couple of weeks. What do you think to the Jets? It goes from bad to worse. We thought the Jets might at least make the playoffs and get destroyed in the playoff. They're not going to even make the playoffs now. Tag, what's your thoughts on the Rodgers debacle at the Jets?
It's mad, but I just think they'll still throw one more dice at it. I think the go around next year is Rodgers got in his last year next year from what they traded. I think you get a full off season with Devontae Adams linking up again. Try and strengthen on defense with your draft picks, and maybe one more roll of dice. I mean, they haven't brought an official new head coach in yet, have they? If there's one head coach who can go into New York with an old QB and make it work and get the defense firing, it's big bad Bill Belichick, and he's still got no team out there. So if you need to win now, you potentially go and get Bill, get that defenses sorted, get some early picks in there, and give a bit of an off season. And you could even potentially draft a young quarterback, can't you? To sit behind Rodgers, and if he's not doing it, he's not doing it. But he ain't moving great. Like I said, I think he's got 1 more year left, Rodgers. I could be wrong. But I think the money is on. They'd be mad to not give him that off-season with Devontae and Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I'm with you. Next one, sorry, I'm not used to saying sorry, Tag. Next one, Tag, it's panic stations. I'm going to chuck one out there that we've just covered. What do you think to the Atlanta wide receivers? Obviously, the Kyle Pitts, the Drake Londons, after a shocking week. Where do you stand with the playmakers on the Atlanta team?
Yeah, I'm sat on a few of them. I think he's got to stick with them. I think they're going to throw the ball about. They need to win games. They're going to make the playoffs. I don't think they will. And even if Captain Kirk gets subbed for Penix, you can see what Penix can do in college. God, he's got a right left arm on him. So I think you just roll with them. And if you've got to start them. And they have got some tough matchups coming up. I think they will play the Steelers a couple of times. I was looking at their fixtures because obviously I'm looking at sitting out Captain Kirk now. I think it's going to be a bit of a tough run for him. So I just think you've got to roll the dice and know that they're still going to chuck the ball around. And they might be chasing some games, and you might strike lucky. Obviously, when an injury report, Darnell Mooney hamstring, not too sure on that. Don't seem too bad, but that's only going to load up London and Pitts again. And we spoke about Ray McLeod as well on waivers last week. He could be one to pick up still. So I think the train's gone, and you just got to stay on that train now. There's not getting out of it, in my opinion.
With it's our trade deadline this week. I don't know if it's others, but if it is your trade deadline, if you're watching, I've got a name tag that's had his obviously massive ups and downs this year. Where are you standing with Travis Kelce? He just got 1.8 points in fantasy. He had a shocking start, didn't he, through the first 3 or 4 weeks? Then he's bounced back a bit. Are you trying to trade him, or are you sticking with him going into the postseason to where you've got to really stick with him now because it's the end of the trade deadline?
I'm all in on Kelce. I think he's done too much in previous years at the back end of seasons when he comes good. We know he's the best tight end in playoff history of tight ends. I think they're going to be massively aiming for that number 1 seed Chiefs. They've just had the first defeat. They want to keep that 1 seed, knowing that they're at Arrowhead all the way there. There'll be frustration there in that defeat against the Bills, how it went down. I think you'll see Mahomes and Kelce bouncing back massively the next few weeks. And if I've got Kelce, I'm definitely keeping him.
Okay. Have you got any?
I've only got one. He has been mentioned a bit in previous weeks. I'm just going to go with what you think is in your league, as in compared to the Packers. Is Aaron Jones? Last few scores, 5.8, 10, 10, 11, 4.8. The Vikings aren't looking as good as what they was. I know they got another win. Aaron Jones is picking up a few knocks. I just think from Aaron Jones, what you got the first 6-7 weeks, and you're laughing, to how he's been very average the last 5 weeks, as well as them injuries now sort of niggles catching up on him. Are you very, very nervous as him as one of your starting running backs going into these playoffs of the fantasy leagues? Is he someone you should look to try and get out of now? Because for me, he is, but what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, the injury, like you said, the injuries with his age, it doesn't track well, does it? The older you are and the later the season they get into, the more they seem to go quieter and quieter, especially if them injuries are getting worse and worse, as well as his age. Like I said, I think I watch a guy on YouTube called Football Analysis. He goes deep into, he's a Minnesota fan, and he's been saying things are going to start tracking downwards. He's been right about a lot this year, to be fair, so I'm going to back him. And like you said, I think if it's trade deadline week, you try to put a package together. He's still got some value. He's still a big name. Still got a couple of points that people might be desperate if they, especially with 2 weeks now of the bye that are just crazy. I think there's about 11 teams on bye in the next 2 weeks. So yeah, I think you try trade him. People think they can still get value in him. And I don't think I think you get rid and go into the playoffs without Jones if obviously possible.
One last one as well, just took out that I thought of, is what would you do with CMC? Obviously, with me, I'm going to stay sticking now the rest of the league. I'm not doing anything now in this league. But if you're a CMC owner, you've got a fit Mason on the sideline. Nana's still didn't get the job done at the weekend. Purdy's throwing the ball a lot more. CMC got so much capital with him, but teams are sort of defending him well. He don't look as explosive. He had a lot of carries for only about 70 yards, 20-odd receiving. That game last year, he's doubled that and got 2 touchdowns. He didn't look like scoring at any point really in the game. If I was competing in the playoffs now in the punt, I'd be looking for an iron trade on CMC. I really would. I think someone will still buy it and you could still get a very good value. And for me, is this sort of the year where maybe it all catch up on CMC since he's come back from that injury? Because for me, he's not looking the same player.
I'll chuck a few names at you then and tell me whether you'd trade. I'll go J.K. Dobbins.
No.
So you're talking high level. So you Kyron Williams after a bit of a quiet week.
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs. That's probably that was probably a silly one. But what about Kenneth Walker?
No. But I think the 2 Detroit running backs I'd look at.
Yeah.
I'd look at Kyron Williams. And our mate King Derrick, salute King Derrick, has had 2 bad weeks. You could even look at doing that. Yeah,
someone with a bit more guarantee, because like I said, Mason's looked awesome this year, and he doesn't look the same, does he? I think he'll look good next year, but for him to finish the season strong with the fact that they're not really fighting for that Super Bowl might not be worth the risk, and you might see him just getting through the year at this point now for the 49ers.
For me, Kyron Williams is running back 1 arguably the rest of the season. He had a down week last week, but the secondary was that bad. I can't remember who Rams are playing now.
Patriots.
The secondary of that team is so bad. Everything was coming off for Stafford. He had 20 seconds in the pocket every time. And Kyron Williams didn't hardly see the ball like he normally does. Whereas CMC saw a lot of the ball still didn't produce. So for me, I'd be all over that for Kyron Williams if that was possible.
I like it. Next one, then we've got Bish's breakouts. He's not here, so we'll call it Tag's breakouts. Who's your top player of the week?
I'm rolling with 2. I've got a soft spot. Joe Mixon scrapping in a defeated team of man. 34.3 points, 3 touchdowns, well over 150 yards, rushing and receiving. Just tore that team apart, the Cowboys, the other night. I've got to give high praise to Mixon. And when we spoke about wide receivers last week, there was one person we sort of missed out on. I think Jamar Chase is number 1 by a mile. And I'm going to throw out there that Amon-Ra St. Brown is wide receiver 2 by a mile. There's no competing with them 2 at the minute. And St. Brown with 33.2 points was just obviously an outstanding performance. And if you want consistency right there in running back and wide receiver, I think you're looking at Mixon and St. Brown as 2 guys. If you've got them on your team, you're absolutely laughing.
I like it. And then I'll go mine. I'm going to nick your own stat you told me before the show. I'm going to go Bo Nix. Obviously, got me the win in the fantasy league against you. 28.78 points, 4 touchdowns, less carries than what he normally does, but threw for 307 yards, 28 out of 33. And this is your stats. I'm going to give you credit, but it's the second highest ever QB rating on the Denver Broncos with obviously Elways. You've got your
Peyton
Mannings, yeah. So you've had some of the greatest QBs of all time, and Nix is going toe for toe with him on the rating. Number two. So yeah, I think unbelievable performance. 38-6 against the Falcons. Brilliant results. And then I'll give a fun one to Taysom Hill as well. I think he ended up with 38 points. Went crazy. Still being this gadget player about 5 years after he was the fun gadget player to watch. So fair play to him. Can't believe he's still getting that much usage. He's an older QB now. He's getting into his 30s, and normally you do slow down. He looks as good as ever, so he deserves as much praise as possible.
Yeah, unbelievable pickup, and I think it helped get the win against Bish. Bish was fuming that reigning champ Ramsey went and picked up Taysom Hill and put the Swiss Army knife in there, and 38 points later, the game was done.
So he's absolutely devastated, Bish. So no, it's always funny to see, because he's probably got the powerhouse team going into the playoffs now. I
don't know. Jordan Lane is looking unbeatable. Get Jordan Lane up. I don't think he's lost a game in about 6-7 weeks. I could be wrong. And his team is just stupidly stacked. Oh, I think the only person who beat Jordan Lane recently was me. Believe it or not. Yeah. That just shows what my team can do. But Jordan Lane's team with Derrick Henry, St. Brown, Joe Burrow on form, he's looking pretty stacked for me, Laney.
Yeah, he has. He's looking good. I've still got Bish, to be honest. I've got our man Bish. I think I think picking up Kittle for pretty much for free on a waiver wire, obviously after Baylor accidentally dropped him, he's just crazy. And then he's like I said, got Devontae, who's still being solid. But the running back combination of Williams and Achane that's just unbelievable, isn't it? And I'm nervous about that. I think that running back combination alone gets you deep and deep into the playoffs, because I think you've always got that bottom line, haven't you, that you and Bish love. You've got that consistency there of 30 points really minimum. So I'm nervous to face Bish. Hopefully I make the playoffs. I'm on the right trajectory, but that's a running back combination I don't really want to come up against till the final. On to the last major one. It's the one that Bish always tells us gets the most views, so I laugh my head off. It is the waiver wire pickup. So give us your best tag.
I've got 2 waiver wire pickups, both on our waivers. I think it's always good to do that because they're on ours. And I've seen he's available in a lot of leagues. It's Christian Watson is my first one. He's looking fit. He's looking healthy. Jordan loves throwing the ball well, looking fitter. I think Watson's going to have a big back end of the year. He's at pace in the Green Bay team. 16, 17 points at the weekend, was getting himself open. I think if you need a wide receiver to sit on the bench or a flex type player with some of the bye weeks coming up, I think Christian Watson could be a real astute pickup. And the other one, with the bye weeks coming, you need that QB who's going to get you a win. I spoke out of him at the start of the year because when he does play, he scores, and that's Anthony Richardson. Over 28 points this weekend for Colts, killing the hearts of the Jets. But Anthony Richardson, when he plays, he scores points. If you're going to keep playing for this Colts team, you're going to get a top 5 QB the rest of the season for me. So there's two players I'll be looking at.
Like, I've got a sneaky one based off what you said earlier. Cam Akers for the Vikings. He got 10 points at the weekend. And as you said, Jones is tailing in the wrong direction. And I think if he don't finish the season strong, Cam Akers is looking good. He's getting the usage. He's getting the snap rate. 37% of snaps. So it's tracking upwards for Cam, and he's been looking decent doing it as well. So I'd say if something does happen to Jones, they accept maybe they're not going to have a massive playoff run, or they give someone else a go. Injuries catch up to him with his age. Cam Akers is the next man up, and obviously you've seen what Jones did earlier on in the year. A fresh Akers not having that much utilisation. I think if he gets the starting role, he goes off. So worth a spot with the trade deadline in the leagues coming up. I think he's one that you've just got to have on your team. And if something does happen to Jones, you've got a QB, you've got an RB2 sat there to plug and play every week. And then I'll put Chuck one more in there. Someone who at the moment is just going crazy. MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, another huge week at 15.7 points. Only 2 receptions, but Derek Carr just seems to absolutely love him 2 weeks in a row now. Like I said, there's no options on that New Orleans Saints team. So I think if the deep ball is thrown, it's going to MVS now. And you know he's going to get points because he's that fast, that deep ball threat. And as long as you see his name pop up, you know you're getting some good points on the board.
And now the 2 I said last week, Joseph, they got in a week early.
Yeah.
No, they're still there in a lot of leagues, mate. And we spoke about them last week. Me and Bish, I think, both had them on our list. And look, they're still there in a lot of leagues and already shown what they're doing. Snap them up, lads.
Then best one, I think there's one clear one. Tag, I'll let you cover him, but it's the punters. We always cover one. Best kicker of the week. Who's got the award to?
Well, I think when a kicker scores over 20 points and wins the team the match, when there's no touchdown scored in that team, it's got to go to the Steelers and Mr. Boswell himself. Unbelievable performance with a boot. Had that trust, got on the win, scored massive. If you started Boswell, you're laughing. In a game where he was needed to slot him over against beating a very good Ravens team. And obviously, I just showed you going into that game, there's one Hall of Fame kicker and one in, and the Hall of Fame kicker took and missed a few gimmies, which obviously cost him in the end.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? Yeah, by 2 points. Yeah, took and missed a few. It's 24 points for Boswell. Yeah, unbelievable. So well done, Chris. You win the prestigious Punters Award this week. Nice and easy, Tag. I'll say like, share, subscribe. Put your comments in. If we've missed anyone, any other thoughts. Like I said, it's a big week. So if you've got any questions to do with who you want to start, say it. If you want to give us our thoughts on a trade you want to do, anything like that. It's a big week. The playoffs are upcoming. I think in each league it's 3 or 4 weeks left now. So get your questions in, and we're more than happy to help. But been a pleasure, Tag. Now we'll see you on Friday for the betting show.
I was going to say, join into the betting show, everyone, where Joe Me is on fire. He's going to have to, he's the informed guy this year by a mile, couple more wins. Make sure you're following him.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. I'll see you on Friday.